Jinkies, it's almost Halloween and the gang and I haven't even made our costumes. Obviously, we won't be attending any parties this year due to the pandemic, but I've been planning to dress up as Daphne since basically last Halloween, so I'm going to make this cosplay anyway. Scooby-Doo was one of my favorite shows growing up, so I hope I can do this classic character justice. Okay, I'm trying a new pattern, McCall's 7861. I'm gonna do style C with the sleeves of style D. So the mock-up turned out really great. Obviously, I only did one sleeve. I like the way that the darts in the skirt and the top make it a little bit more fitted. My only changes are that this sleeve I'll take in a little bit, and obviously I'll be adding the cuffs and the stripes that are part of Daphne's design. I ended up using a size 8 for the top and a size 12 for the skirt, so don't be afraid to mix and match sizes to get the fit that you want. So let's get to making this with the real fabric. Real quick, I needed to decide where the stripes were gonna go and how big they were gonna be. I decided to make them 2.5 inches tall. Time to cut out all the pieces. When I'm cutting out the stripes, it is super important that I remember to include seam allowance for all of these pieces so that when I sew it together, it's still the 2.5 inches that I want. First step in sewing is the darts, which I need to mark with my white charcoal pencil on the wrong side of the fabric. So I've tested out 2 different ways to do darts on this little scrap here. The way that most people know is to sew a straight line all the way to the end point. But the other way that I've learned, you do a stitch all the way to a 1/2 inch before the end point, and then stitch right along this fold for a 1/2 inch to the end point. So the original way ends up having a little bit of a dimple at the point, whereas the other method ends up looking a little bit smoother. And because I have the line drawn out, I can flip this over and see if I'm matched up. So I'm not quite lined up there. And the more accurate you pin this and sew this, the more symmetrical it's going to turn out. Now to do this to the rest of the darts. It's iron time. Ideally, you'd use a tailor's hand to iron these, but you can also just use your regular ironing board or even the curved end of it to help iron the darts. I can sew up the sides and the shoulders of the top and the sides on all the skirt stripes. And after that, I can do all the horizontal stitches. So I got a little ahead of myself starting on the neckband, so I've cut a 2-inch by 19-inch piece to match my 21-inch neckline. I've sewed it front to front, and then I will fold it over, and then stitch in the ditch here to secure it, and then I can trim off any extra fabric on the back side. So I've got my invisible zipper, and in order to install it, I'm going to stitch like I have been from the bottom to here, and I'm going to iron on a strip of interfacing to this section so the knit fabric doesn't stretch out all weird when I go to sew the zipper. And I'm also going to do a based stitch from here to here.
All right, baby, let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
Now to place the zipper, I'm gonna put it face down to the seam, and then I'm going to pin it just to the seam allowance part. Then I can flip this inside out and take out those basting seams. Cool, so I can open and close the zipper. So now I'm good to sew the zipper to the seam allowance only. Woo, look at that, super clean zipper. For the sleeves, I've already added the purple cuffs to the end here. I need to stitch up the underarm and then actually sew the sleeves to the dress. Last step is to fold under the sleeve and skirt hems and run a top stitch around those. For the headband, I have a generic one from the craft store, and I'll use my leftover light purple fabric and some hot glue to wrap it around. inside may not be very pretty, but the top looks just fine. For the scarf, the fabric I have is a little thin, so I'm going to sew together 2 pieces, invert it so it has a clean edge. For Daphne's shoes, I've got these heels that I bought on sale that I'll be painting with Angel's leather paint in lilac. First, I use the deglazer to remove any previous finish. Then I can jump in with the paint. I went with 2 coats, letting it dry in between. I sealed the paint with a satin finish, and boom, pretty purple pumps. For the buckles, I've cut out 2 of these fox-looking shapes in EVA foam. I'm going to heat seal them with the heat gun, and then spray them with some white Plastidip. The Plastidip kept drying bubbly or textured no matter how light or heavy each coat was or how heat sealed the foam was. I was running out of time, so they're not perfectly smooth, but that's something I'll experiment with more in the future. I want to be able to use these shoes for other projects, so I'm going to make the buckles removable using magnets. There are 2 on the inside and 2 on the outside. And with my foam piece, I can press into the top magnet so they make an indent, and then draw where those indents are so I know where to glue in these top magnets. I chose to use super glue on the magnets, but contact cement or E6000 are other potential options. The magnets ended up being not the comfiest solution. They were fine for the photo shoot, but I'd recommend permanent glue or temporary tape instead, but I'm still sharing what I tried. It's wig time. I'm working with Arda's Ferrari in Pumpkin. I decided to cut the length a bit shorter and use my hairdryer to soften and comb out the curls. I strained it a bit too much and had to recurl a few sections. I trimmed the bangs and tried to give those a little shape too by curling with the steamer. Now it's time to solve that mystery. Ghosts don't trip. Let's see who you really are. Mr. Peters!
I would have gotten away with it too, you stupid kids and your dumb dog.
I am thrilled with how cute this cosplay turned out. Let me know in the comments what costume you're planning for this year, or what you're going to do instead of the usual Halloween parties and such. I'm thinking I'll probably bake Halloween cookies and play scary video games. If you want to see all the awesome photos from the shoot, be sure to follow me on Instagram at peachberryfox. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more fun content. Until next time, bye!